Welcome to StreamSemester.com's Teaching to the Test Pattern. Here is your host, Tom White. Really, that's all you want me to say? Nothing about the show? Just here's Tom? Conceited much?
Hey, buddy, welcome to StreamSemester.com's Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, and today we're on the road. We're in Savannah at Savannah State University, and I am joined with a good friend of mine, David Marshall. David, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleased to be here.
And when it comes to education, one of the things that I struggle with is letters, because there's so many acronyms. And as I was doing some loose prep, I was like, every time you mention the school, it's a cluster of letters. So tell us about Savannah State and that cluster of letters, and then we'll talk about you a little bit.
Now, which letters? Because there are a lot of letters, right?
The JMC Podcast Center is where
Got
we
it.
are.
Okay, there we are. Okay, good. So this is Savannah State University. It is the oldest institution of higher learning in the city of Savannah, founded in 1890. We're the oldest public HBCU in the state of Georgia. Here, and we're a school of about 3,000 students with 5 different colleges, mostly focusing on the careers and making industry alignment to those industries that help Georgia win. This is the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. It is part of the College of Media Arts and Communication, formed just last year by President Worrell as a way to boost enrollment in the visual arts and journalism and mass communication, but also to have more aligned academic programs to those growing industries in communications and mass media in Georgia. And so there we have it.
So it's the MAC, JMC, SSU.
No, let's try CMAC, as in CMAC,
Okay.
College of Media Arts
There we
and
go.
Communication. Then JMC, which is Journalism and Mass Communications. And then, of course, it's SSU, Savannah State University.
So we got that right off the jump, and really excited to be here. We're in your new podcast center.
It's
really
beautiful. We
really
love
excited.
It. We love it, yeah.
I love the sound panels. They're like when they were like, "Hey, look at these," I was like, "It's such a simple thing. It doesn't make any sense why it's so awesome." Because normally when you go to a studio, it's black. Everything is black. And I'm like, these are beautiful. The orange and the blue pop. So
We bleed orange and blue here.
excellent.
Okay.
So now let's focus on you. Who are you and what do you do at the CMAC JMC at SSU?
Okay, great. So I'm the Dean of the College of Media Arts and Communication here at Savannah State University. And so there are 5 colleges. Each college has basically a mini CEO to run the business, the academic business of the college, but also I am primarily responsible in this building for student outcomes. How many students we have, how many stay with us, how many graduate, and our most probably important metric now that's been added by the president, what percentage and number of those students who have careers in their majors, not 5 years after graduation, but when they walk across the stage, that is a metric. What percentage and number of students who have jobs in the field there as well. So the dean is the chief hiring officer, the chief budget officer, the chief retention officer, the chief student success officer there as well. So, and I hope I'm doing okay because my evaluation is coming up in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, I do too. It seems to be. I mean, everything here, every time I've been in the building in the last 6 or 8 months, it's been active. And I go to a lot of campuses around the Southeast, and some of the buildings you go into, it's like, is this a mausoleum or a college? Like there's young people here. It should be vibrant. It should be active. And that is one thing that I can say, that every time I've been here in Whiting Hall, there's been activity. Even today, there was a young man, and you're a week out from graduation, so there's not a lot on campus, but there was a young man who met me at the door, and we talked for just a second. It was vibrant. It was awesome. So I think you're doing a swell job. So
okay.
if
I'll let you know how it goes. Okay.
Yeah, if you need me to come in and sit in on the meeting, I'll be glad to and help where I can. So let's talk about what students here can expect. Like a student that is either recently walked across the stage in their high school or they're in the next 10 days or whatever, and they're excited about coming to Savannah State, and they want to come to CMAC and JMC. What can they expect here?
Let me start with what they cannot expect. This is not the place where you sit in a room and watch PowerPoints. PowerPoints are dead in this building. We are just totally focused on career preparation, getting students ready to take those jobs in the state of Georgia, that in those industries that are going to help Georgia win. We really see ourselves, although we are an educational institution, we see ourselves in many ways as a pipeline to industry. And our contribution to that pipeline is upskilling young people so that they're prepared to take those jobs. So I would say almost all of our classes are project-based. You are trying to solve a real-world problem, a real-world situation. I mean, even in the first classes that you take, because again, that is the expectation of employers. They are hiring young people or people, they're just hiring people to help them solve a business problem. And so all of our classes really have to answer a couple of questions. Number one, what is the industry skill that is being taught in that class? What is the product that the students are producing? And what's the quality of that product, and whether or not it's something that can go into a professional portfolio to help students win. So again, when they're coming here, they should expect to be hands-on, trying to solve problems, learning skills, and applying those skills to the profession in such a way that's going to make them very, very attractive. Not just to having just braggadocious stuff to put on their LinkedIn, but really stuff that they can actually go to an employer and say, you need help, I have skills, let's partner and let's win.
Excellent. And that's a beautiful thing, because I will admit that, again, lots of campuses around the Southeast, and there are times where I meet students and I almost want to ask, have you ever actually done something? Like, there's so many schools, and this happens at the high school level too, where it's like, what are you doing in class? And I'm so glad to hear that. And again, I feel like the overall vibe here is that. I mean, there's activity and buzz. Talk about some of your classes. Talk about some of the pathways inside CMAC and what opportunities are available for the kids.
Yeah, so we have a very structured framework only because we are a nationally accredited program by ACJMC, the Accrediting Council for Journalism and Mass Communication.
And y'all just recently renewed that?
Yes. So
congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. A lot of hard work, great review by the National Council. We are just extremely proud. It's a big victory, mostly for our students, because they comprised about 80% of the report, the self-study report. The National Council is very, very, resolute about the quality of the student experience and documentation that students are actually learning. So we're just completely thrilled about that. There are only about 110 schools that are ACJMC accredited. There are only 3 schools in the state of Georgia, West Georgia, University of Georgia, Grady College, and us, and we're the only HBCU in the state of Georgia that has achieved or has maintained this accreditation consistently since 2006. I say all that to say is that we're making magic within a structure. We are highly structured in terms of what we're able and what we're not able to do. So coming in, of course, I don't care what the first class is, students are going to be immersed in some sort of hands-on project, even if it's an intro to mass media or media and society class. There's still going to be an actual project where students are going to get their hands on something and produce something by the time that class is done. And of course, the further they go along in their curriculum and in their classes, the more projects they get to do and the more complex those projects become. And obviously, the closer they get to graduation, it is our hope and desire that those projects are a lot more polished and professionally sound because they're getting ready to go there as well. So that's sort of how we do that. We end the instruction after the 4 years in a capstone class where students have worked on an actual real-world problem with real-world companies, clients, those types of things. So that could be producing a documentary for an organization, setting up a website, producing podcasts, building collateral for the web. They're working directly with those companies, directors, CEOs, and then at the end of that project, they have to come into a room and present that project, not just before the JMC faculty, but we must have at least 2 or 3 industry people in that industry who give them a score. It is very high stakes. I have the good angel and the bad angel on my shoulder. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this. I have the APR, the public. I'm trying to frame this in such a way that doesn't make us look bad. But we actually had 3 students this semester who did not make it. Their portfolio projects were not what we expected. They got not very, very good scores from our external industry panel that was there. And they wound up getting a sort of failing grade in the practicum, practicum class, the senior capstone class. And at that level, there is no A, B, C, D, or F. There's one grade for that class. It's an A. You've either done the work or you haven't done the work. It's not, oh, it's almost right, or the color is a little, no, you have met what's on the rubric or you have not. And it is a very tough lesson. It's a recent transition that we made. I think the year before the president came, we got some very, very strong feedback from industry advisors about the quality of those capstone projects. We made a big pivot. And of course, our new president, Dr. Worrell, who was just been here a year and just had his investiture service, is resolute about making sure that students have what they need to be career ready. So that's the beginning and that's the end. And in the middle, people are perfecting those skills along the way. The last thing I'll say about that is that we are leaving a lot of it to the students themselves. There are the actual classes that you have to take towards graduation, but the reality is almost kind of, we're like the music model. You know, you go to a music school or a conservatory, and you may only have an hour and 15 minutes with this world-renowned professor. The 20 hours outside that class, you got to do on your own. So yeah, the professor is showing you how to pick up a camera, how to do a podcast, but on your own, you've got to go and practice. And so that kind of is the student experience, and a lot of it really is left up to them. And that's why we're so incredibly proud of them when they finish, because it's not a lot of hand-holding. We point them in the right direction, and outside of class, they've got to make the decision. They're going to rise or they're not going to rise.
You know, you have and I understand your angel and devil on the shoulder, but I think that accountability piece speaks volumes to the culture of this place, because there's a lot of industry buzz about kids coming out of a college that don't know how to do anything, and they don't accept responsibility. They don't. That, like, I didn't obviously know that before now. That's awesome. That is something that you should brag about. And again, I don't know the entire number of students, but the fact that you did have students who didn't rise to the expectation, and you guys were like, no, you don't, yeah, thou shalt not pass kind of situation. That's awesome. That's tremendous.
I hear what you're saying, but from an educational point of view, right, we still have to figure out what happened with those 3 students and whether or not this is, we were not clear about the expectations, or as they were coming up in the pipeline, did we not give them the type of support that was needed to make them more successful there as well. I do hear what you're saying. I think I came up in the old school. In fact, in the old days, in the 80s and the 90s, the expression was, I got mine, you got yours to get. Mm-hmm. In a very, very elevated customer service environment that higher education has become these days, it's not really a good platform to have. So even though it's a small percentage of the 30 people who may have walked in May, as they say, kind of on the battlefield, it's one too many that we should not have. So we're really doing a deep dive, trying to figure out what went wrong. We have invited these young people here. They did not, well, some may have chosen, but we really went out and waved the flag and said, please come to Savannah State. So to my mind, we do owe them, from a customer service and a student success piece, to identify those weaknesses really early, give them the supports that they need to be successful there as well. But I think the failures are teaching us a lot about not the student. It's not really saying a lot about the student. It's saying really a lot about our own delivery and how we can improve that as teaching faculty. So.
And that's tough. That's real tough, because the number of people involved, the number of factors, all of that, that's really tough. And I totally understand that. And you know, the good thing about having that accountability piece for the student is, as a faculty, it's an accountability piece for you guys.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and again, that dispelling that myth of higher education is just a bunch of people who come in, fire off PowerPoints, you get it or you don't, you do the work or you don't, and then they don't care. I think that speaks to you guys, is that, you know, that reflection piece and that building your people internally so that they can build the world better is a great thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing, but it's the reality of higher education these days. I mean, you've heard something called the enrollment cliff. There are not enough students to go around for every college that needs there as well. So you are competing in a very, very competitive environment for the students, and then you're going to bring them in and lead them on a pathway to failure. That's going to get you the program closed or faculty reduced or resources reduced right away. So there's some altruism here about we want to be the beacons for higher ed. But there is a actual practical reality of why would you bring young people to a hands-on skills program and then not make sure that they are skilled? Yeah, those two things just don't go together.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys have going on in the fall. You've got students coming in. You guys are making some big investments in your overall infrastructure in terms of technology. Amy Trace is a part of that, and we've got guys back there right now. Putting in. We walked in a minute ago, and there's just lights everywhere.
Everywhere. And I know they're really tired of me because I'm in the room every 3 minutes. And I'm thinking that at some point they're going to give me a hammer or something and say, okay, if you come in here one more time, we're going to put you to work. But it's so exciting to see the transformation and watch the process as it is going on. It's not even done, but I already conceptually can see the impact that is going to be had when everybody is back in the fall. It's really exciting to watch.
And, you know, what was the impetus for this? What was the reason that you were like, we need to make an investment in this, and let's kind of talk through that process. Like, what for you guys on the college side was the light switch?
Well, because we're accredited, nationally accredited, we do a lot of assessment, and part of that assessment is making sure that we are in touch with our students in progress to see what's going well, what's not going well. But our crown jewel is sort of doing the survey with graduating seniors. They're walking across the stage. They have nothing to lose. They could say this is the worst program that God has created on the planet. And that feedback, when they have that opportunity, things that they may not have said as a student and not, of course, we're not going to, do anything retaliatory, but there is a sense when you give very, very sharp criticism and you're not done, there's a sense there. But boy, when you got that diploma in your hand and you're across the stage, you're going to get it. And they let us have it. And so part of the instruction, the feedback from them, is that we are in a competitive, hands-on, skills-based industry, and we may not have had either the latest technology to help them be competitive or not enough of the technology to have them be very, very competitive. And so we have been putting together a budget for the longest time. You may not know much about higher education, But around the budget time, the season, we start even thinking about the July 1st budget as early as November. The deans get into the room with the provost, who's the chief academic officer for the institution, and we literally fight it out. Education, you don't need a teacher. Get some adjuncts, or, business. Y'all can't figure out how we need, and so we fight it out. And so we have not been as successful around the table. For one, we're a smaller college. Number two, and we are the youngest college now, given the president's reorganization. But in the last budget season, we took all of the data that we had from the student feedback, and there was an opportunity given by the president. We had some additional funds from Title III, about $5 million or so. And we went into that meeting very, very prepared, had a lot of feedback from our industry partners and also our colleagues. The dean of the University of West Georgia was a great partner in terms of helping us make the argument there as well. And by the end of that, we came out with $1.2 million that was given to the tiniest college. And of course, the rest of the deans are like, what in the world? President, what are you doing? What in the world? There as well. And that investment, I think, you hear the word seismic a lot, or transformational a lot, and I think sometimes it's used sensationally. But I really can say that investment is going to be seismic and transformational for students. It gets them with state-of-the-art equipment that many of their peers around the country have, and many people in industry are expecting to have some nuanced familiarity with. It gives them more materials, so that instead of having materials where 3 people at a time can do 3 things and the rest are on a waiting list to get the cameras, we are able to serve a lot more students as well. And there is something very invigorating when you are upgrading your studios, when you didn't have a podcast really facility and now you do have one, where there are cameras available and stuff is new that brings an energy or excitement there. It is just really terrific. But that's the story of how we got there, using the assessment data, listening to our students, and really that money was already spent before we got there because our students and our advisory board told us what we needed. It was the easiest thing. And right now, believe it or not, of all the divisions that have gotten money, we're the only ones that are totally spent. We spent that money in like 2 weeks. It was already done, yes.
Wow, very cool. And I would not be good at my job if I didn't say that this podcast studio features a VidPod.
Absolutely.
We've got 2 VidPods here.
Absolutely. and in transparency, I didn't get the Holy Ghost earlier. I'm not understanding, because, you look at the what you see on TV and YouTube, and you got the lights, and you got this big old desk, and you got 5 cameras, and one's in the ceiling, and that kind of stuff as well. And so we were thinking that we needed something like that. And so it took a while, I'm not going to lie, for me to kind of catch the spirit. I did a lot of research, and I'm so glad that I had the capacity to listen to people who were much smarter than me to say, this is a good investment, sir. Please go that direction. And I'm really pleased. This is the first time I think we have used it at all. We're there, so I'm just really anxious to see the output product. But I am very, very pleased to say I did the inaugural podcast.
Absolutely. And when we designed the VidPod, it was for schools, and we wanted it to be super simple. And I'm not going to say who, but one of my friends, as he saw it, and I kind of walked him through it, and he's in the high school space, and he said, "That's simple enough. A principal could do it."
Oh wow. Oh wow.
I was like,
I would stay away from that one.
I was like, I can't use that, but I'll use that.
Yeah, absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
But yeah, so let's take the pressure off of you. Let's get you off the hot seat for a minute, and let's talk about things that you would like to see students who, when they walk in that door, what skills they have. So if I'm a high school teacher and I've got a student who is coming to Savannah State, and they walk in that door at Whiting Hall, day one, what is something they need to have?
I'm going to push back on you a little bit. because again, we are generally pleased with the skill level that students have. And between you, me, and the Homeland Security operator listening in, and I hope none of my faculty is listening in, the reality is that for some of those students, they could actually teach the classes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're coming up, and it has nothing to do with the role of the faculty or the incompetence of they have come up through a time where we were just talking about iPhones, where that has been their instrument of choice. That phone can create videos that would match some of the best cameras that you all are even selling to us. They've been content creators since they were 7 or 8. What am I going to tell them about storytelling? What am I going to tell them about editing? What am I going to tell them actually about lighting? What am I going to tell them? And now in an age of AI, where they can take those innate skills and use AI tools in order to produce that. Every mass comm program director, dean, department chair should be shaking in their boots, because again, when we go out to high schools and make the pitch, the bubble over the head is like, and I'm coming to do and paying you to do something I already know. No, sir, what that is. So I'm generally pleased with the level of students there. They're in media. And of course, as you know, and people outside of media won't get it, it's either in your blood or it's not. You can't help yourself. I mean, you will spend hours on an edit. You will shoot something 16 times. You will work until you are in the sleep. You know, I love it when we have to come here and kick students out of the edit bays. Bro, it's time to go home. It'll be okay. I promise you, it'll be okay. So what we really do need from them, I think, is more of the thing that everybody is talking about in the work world. Those soft skills, those communication skills, those leadership skills about coming out and recognizing that they do have to work. Even if they have great ideas, they do have to work with a team with people. And those are the things that we struggle with. They think that they are the Superman or Superwoman of a thing. We try to give them a group project. The project falls apart because they're not sort of used to working in a group. And in this day and age, the likelihood is, I don't care how talented you are, you're going to be working with people in a global workforce. Yeah, especially given the Teams and Zooms and that kind of stuff as well. That ability there as well. The confidence piece, we see a lot of students come to us who just have not had the sense of confidence to be able to sort of have an idea about the world, argue for that idea, and kind of make their space or their draw their line in the sand about what is right or wrong. One thing I think we do struggle with is seeing things through, and the what do you call it? The stick-to-itiveness, the determination. We're seeing a lot of our students who are coming from high school give up sometimes at the first sign of trouble. And we need a mechanism there. And I would not place that on K through 12 at all. I think that is just sort of a generational thing, something that's happened there as well. But from the skills pieces, I think, again, these programs that are going to survive it's very difficult. You have to be able to serve high-end students who literally could teach the class. You know, the student in the class is asking a question about some brand new app that came out 4 days, and you're standing there smiling, blinking your eye. Yeah, let's talk about that next week. And then you go home and research it on YouTube and come back. And then you have some students who found media very, very late. They didn't even know this until their last week in high school. So you've got to be able to teach them the basic skills. So I'm generally pleased with the caliber of students that we are getting. And again, from the employment point of view, the observations are not about necessarily the technical skills. These are about producing young people who are able to go into a workplace, get along, bring ideas to the table, have a global sort of view of and who are adaptable and trainable. And I think that those are the things we really do need.
You know, you hit on something there, talking about the stick-to-itiveness and the grit. And I think that is the way you guys have your system set up. You have that built in that your students are getting those hands-on and those experiences. Because, you know, in my experience, I was the oddball who took the first year class, and we did news production.
Oh.
On day one.
There you go. That's the way it's done.
And it served two purposes. I'm not going to lie. One, we got a news piece out every day.
That's right.
That was my goal, was 180 days. We're going to do 180 shows. Two, the kids who didn't really want to be there, they weren't there.
Absolutely.
Day two, they were gone. They dropped that class quickly.
Absolutely.
And the third part of that was day 75, when everything has fallen apart, still pushing to get that news show on. That grit and that only comes from repetitions, and that only comes from hands-on. You know, if I were doing PowerPoints, who cares? But that repetition, that continual grind is what really pushes kids to grow and develop and makes them ready for when they come here. And, you know, you're like, oh, this kid's got it. They've got the experience, they've got the reps, but they've got the grit. And that is something that across society, and you know, my own personal children, I fight with them all the time about that. It's like, my son is a runner in college. His knee hurts a little bit. I'm going to take a week off.
Yeah.
Bro, you got to fight through that.
Yeah,
you know? So
push through, as they say. Push through. Push through.
Keep going. So, in closing, make a pitch. Pitch a teacher to tell their students about Savannah State and the programs that you have here.
Yeah, I think it's an easy pitch. We are squarely, our mission is really centered in student success. Every decision that's made in this building, it's a simple matrix. In fact, it's the big rock that my faculty beat me up with all the time. Every single decision I sit at the desk, is this going to help a student get to graduation or not? And if it's or not, the answer is no, no, HELL, no.
Love it.
Yeah. So this is a place where students are going to be cared for, their voices are going to be heard. We haven't even gotten to the production piece. We're talking about developing young people who are ready and prepared to be leaders in their community and take their place in a democratic society and do all of those things that we're expecting productive citizens to do. And that's really our focus. We are teaching them that through the sexy stuff of cameras and podcasting and website building there as well. But that really is our culture of care to take care of students. So this is going to be a place for any parent or student to know that students are going to be well cared for. They're going to be listened to. They're going to be nurtured. They are going to get, from time to time, no lie, a kick in the pants if things are not going well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the actual skills piece. I think now with this investment, with Amateur ACE and other things that we're doing, I think we're really positioned to give students a type of educational experience, pre-career workforce experience that's going to make them competitive. And I think that really does make the difference. We're in one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I mean, not just Savannah, but we're right up the street from the beach. I go there often, sometimes during the day, during the week. Is this Brooke? Maybe my boss should know that I'm going to the beach in the middle of the day. Let's strike that part out. Yeah. You strike that part. You edit that part out.
We'll see if we can edit that out. Maybe I need a little blackmail.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll pay it too. So there as well, you're in a beautiful place to do that, and there's a great place to make media. There are some places, I'm not going to name the place, but they're great schools, but there's nothing around to do the media in. There are no media outlets. There's really nothing to talk about except maybe, I can't even name an industry because you'll know kind of what big elite schools I'm talking about here. And then for students who are interested in kind of sports, we have, a number of sports teams. In fact, our last two students who got really great jobs out of the bat made their industry off of a demo reel, but just by covering our sports. And not just the boring score of the baseball team, but the stories of athlete, the kid who's not just the pitcher, but also has to work 3 jobs because he's also supporting a family someplace else because of, parental injury, and that person can't work. And you're going to get, I think, high quality instruction, a lot of feedback there as well. But I think the selling point is this is not a PowerPoint building. This is, you're going to have your hands on stuff. You're going to solve real world problems. You're going to have stuff to show when it's time for you to graduate. And really well before you graduate, because even in the first mass media class you take, you're already starting to build that industry portfolio there as well. And of course, you won't have as many things as their colleagues will have who are seniors, but you will not leave this building in your first semester in December without a framework and ready to sort of show the world what your talents are. So I think that there are a lot of positives, and I think one of those positives now that really positions us well is sort of this $1.2 million investment. And I do need to say, we were also very pleased with the level of sort of consultation that Amatrace gave us. A lot of us, we know how to teach the stuff, but the technical pieces of what should be in the classrooms, you have to be an engineer or someone who's been in that. And so I'm so glad that we had the type of tutelage and sort of the patience, because again, as a project manager, I really did not understand. And I did ask 1,000 questions because again, I'm thinking about the outcomes of what all this stuff means. And so we're just thrilled. We're so excited for what's going to happen for students. And in fact, I had to deal with some disgruntlement at graduation day. We had graduating seniors, who sort of saw some of the pre-work that you all were doing, the equipment being delivered, the prep work to get the studio ready. And they're basically saying, this is not fair. I want a do-over. So thank you all for your great work. We're really pleased and just really excited about what the future is going to bring for us starting April the 18th when our students are back.
Yeah, we're really, really excited that you guys, trusted us. I mean, truly, when this came down, we were like, okay, well, let's see what we can do, and it's awesome to come and see it happening. Watching the guys load. I don't know if I shared the picture with you yesterday.
I saw them. Yeah,
literally,
I shared them up the train to the provost. Absolutely. Yeah.
Even Faraz was carrying boxes yesterday. It was one of those fun things. So thank you so much, and we're gonna get out of the sauna.
Yes,
if you've never been on a college campus before, as soon as the kids leave, they start working on things, and the air conditioning is what's happening right now where we are. So we're gonna go try to find some food. And thank you so much for watching. And as always, go out and make some awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait. You need an outro too? Let me guess. Thank you for watching Teaching to the Test Pattern, a stream semester production. I'm done. Call my agents and tell them never again.